What's up, YouTube? This your girl D, and I am back with an update. Okay, so if y'all watched my last video, I was just basically talking about a job interview that I had. Well, let's go ahead and roll them updates. Y'all, I didn't get the job. So the thing with that is, okay, you know how like when you have one of those interviews where you just know for a fact, like there will be no surprise when they call you back and say, baby, you didn't get the job. Or however they do it, whether they email you, whatever way they get in contact with you, you just know what the results are going to be. That was not this type of interview. Like, I literally just knew. Y'all, I'm going to have to go ahead and roll back the video. What's up, y'all? It's your girl D. I had an interview today, and I'm here to tell y'all that job is mine, baby. Y'all saw how confident I was, right? So when I received an email stating that they were gonna not move forward and didn't really say why, that confusion set in, and immediately that frustration like came right after it. So when I tell y'all, I cried. Like, when I'm talking about one of them hard cries, honey, like them. Babe, I had to go to sleep afterwards because I was just not good. I was no good in that moment, you know. And yeah, I think it was more of a feeling of like disappointed. Like, really? How could y'all? Really? Me? Y'all? For starters, this is how the interview went. It'll be better for me to tell y'all how the interview went. So I had an interview. Now I had applied for the job through Indeed, but basically you had to go back to the actual website and, you know, fill out the job from there. Now that was like everybody that was in the Microsoft Teams had filled it out on Indeed. So when we got in there, they basically were just kind of explaining to us. They kind of had like the overview of the job or whatnot, the requirements, you know, what the role would be and all of that other stuff. But in the midst of them doing it, they basically, everybody had to refill out the application again. Y'all, when I tell y'all, like, we didn't have to take no tests, like, because I hate some of them tests. Like, some of them questions just do not make sense. Like, they have some of the dumbest questions in there. Like, they'll ask you, okay, if you're dealing with, you know, a difficult customer, which one of these things would you do? And it'll have like the dumbest answers on there, but you can't put your answer. You got to pick, you know, from the answers that they give you. And it'll have something like, all of them will be dumb. Like, the first one would say, would you slap Brenda? Would you slap Brenda if she's not acting right? The second one would say, instead of slapping Brenda, would you just tell Brenda that you would slap her mama instead? And the third one will be both of them. Or would you do both? Like, that's how dumb the questions be to me. I wouldn't do neither one of them. And y'all know if I pick either one of them, y'all not gonna hire me. Like, so I didn't have to, it wasn't one of those, you know, I didn't have to take no test. It was like no questionnaire. It wasn't none of that. It was literally just uploading your resume and filling out the application, and that was pretty much it. So now, y'all, for whatever reason, like, I had prayed about this. I was just like, you know, I feel like I got this. Like, this is mine. And I think I maybe started planning ahead, like, before I knew I had the job. And I was like, oh, I can do this. Like, the kids are going to be so happy. I can start helping out in the house, like, financially. You know, I'm just thinking, like, y'all, I just had all these plans. I was like, well, we probably can, you know, I probably, you know, could take the kids on a trip for the summertime so they won't be bored. Like, we could probably actually do something. Like, y'all, just really head over heels, okay? Let's go back to the interview. So we're in there and they're like, okay, whenever you finish, you know, filling out the application, you know, type your name in the chat, your first and last name, and then we're going to go, you know, send you some other forms that you need to submit or fill out. So my computer was like messing up out of nowhere. Y'all, when I tell y'all I had been on my laptop that whole week, like with no issues with the internet cutting up or none of that, right? So it's like the minute I'm trying to type in the chat, like nothing, 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 nothing. So I'm like, I know you lying. You know, but instead of like feeling defeated in that moment, I was like, okay, what I'm going to have to do is just leave the meeting and then come right back. So, um, I was like, let me not, because when I tried to like unmute myself, it was like it was freezing. Like the screen was just froze. I was not understanding what was going on. I didn't have a lot of stuff up, you know, so I was like, okay, I have no choice but to leave the meeting, come back, you know, turn off the computer, refresh everything, and come back. So before I did that, it eventually ended up when I was trying to go into the chat and type, it eventually like went, but you know, it was stalling. So by the time it did that, I knew I was going to have to continue to keep writing in the chat. So I was like, man, I'm gonna just have to restart it like eventually, and I'd rather do it now, you know, versus, you know, at a, you know, a time that's maybe not be appropriate to do this or whatever. So if I finally, it allowed me to type in the chat, but it was like real slow. So the lady had sent me the link to go fill out the next form, but like it would not load. The link would not load or anything like that. So I was like, okay, let me leave the meeting. After I left the meeting is when the form had went. So I was able to fill out the form quickly, you know, and I'm back in the meeting or whatnot. By the time it allowed me to get back in the meeting, I was already done with the form. So as soon as I get back in the on the Teams or whatever, it's basically telling me I'm leaving to the other room, the breakout room. So I'm like, okay, this must be the interview. So I had my camera on. Because I'm thinking, okay, this is a virtual interview. Like, if you didn't want to see me, you could have called me on the phone. So I had my camera on when I first started, and then when I got back in, I made sure I put it back on. I was like, if they don't want it, I'd rather them tell us to turn them off than have to tell us to turn them on. That's what I'm thinking. So I get into the interview room, and it was two supervisors or whatever the case may be, and the hiring manager as well. And he was like, you know, he said my name. He was like, DeAndre. I was like, yeah, that's me. You know, he was like, that's how you pronounce it. I said, you pronounce it correctly. And he said, okay. He was like, well, I'm going to have you stop sharing. I'm going to have you turn off your camera so, you know, it won't cause any glitching or whatever. And I was like, okay, cool. Turn off my camera. So with that, he basically was like, and I'm going to, do you know how to share your screen? So I'm like, yeah, mind y'all, I've had a job like this before. Like, I'm very familiar with, you know, how to work 2 monitor screens, all of that. So how to share my screen, just all of that stuff. I was like, yes, I know how to do that. So he was like, okay, I'm going to have you share your screen so we can do the speed test. So y'all, start sharing my screen. That's it. That was going slow. He was like, are you sharing your screen? Because on my end it's telling me that it's being shared. So he was like, he was like, Miss Reese, he was like, are you sharing your screen? So I said, yes, it's showing that it's sharing on my end. I was like, it's actually giving me the option to stop sharing. Is it not showing up on your end? He was like, no. So eventually it did it. So he was like, okay, there it goes. So I was like, okay, you run the speed test, y'all. Not budging, okay? So I'm immediately irritated. I'm like, you know, it just kept giving an error. So I was like, okay, well, let's just go ahead and proceed to move further. We don't have to worry, but we can come back to that. So I'm like, okay, cool. So this is when he's just asking me the questions, y'all. That was real simple questions, like, you know, what was the first one he asked me? I think the first one he asked me was, how many years of customer experience do I have? Have I had a job that's similar to the role that I was about to partake in? You know, and then it was 2 more questions he asked me. What was the third one? Oh, the third one was, you know, how would I de-escalate a call? And the fourth one was basically he gave me the list of different shifts that they had, and, you know, just told me which one would better fit my schedule. So I picked my top one, and then I picked my second one. And so he was like, okay. He was like, well, I'm going to actually have you, this time you don't have to share your screen. He was like, but I want to ask you to do that, run that speed test again for me. Mind y'all, this was a requirement too. Like when we were, before I got into the interview room, the breakout room, they basically was explaining it's a requirement for you to have the speed test, all this stuff, right? So he was like, I'm not gonna have you share the screen this time. He was like, but I want you to go ahead and run that test again for me. He was like, and let's see how that goes or whatever. Let me know. So in my mind, I'm like, this stuff has been tripping since I've been on here. So in this moment, it's probably not gonna work. But whatever it is, I'm pretty sure it's something that's a quick fix, right? So I was like, okay, should I lie? Should I lie to him, and just make sure that I get it fixed? You know what I mean? Just tell him, oh, it's working or whatever. And I'm like, okay, then what if he asks me for the proof right then, like tell me to share my screen right then and there? So I'm like, okay, I choose integrity. So I'm like, it's actually giving the same error. I said, but this is unusual. I said, I'm sure whatever it is, I said, it's a small fix or whatever. I said, so what I will do, I said, is I'll go ahead and make the adjustments that needs to be made in order to correct this. And I said, and I will, give you an update on the results. I said, because this is unusual for this to be happening. Like, which was very unusual, y'all. Like anywho. So he was like, okay. He was like, that's fine. He was like, well, with that being said, he was like, this will conclude our interview. He was like, thank you for meeting me, He was like, and good luck. So I'm like, okay. He was like, you should know you should get the status of everything within 24 hours. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I immediately after he get off, I'm like, I basically figured out, y'all, all it was, like, I just, the cords was in the wall, right? But I just tapped on it. So it's like immediately, right after I did that, I did the speed test. Perfect, y'all. It went like beyond what they needed it to be, right? So I'm like, okay, bro, I doubt, everything else went good. I was like, I doubt that this would be like what would cause them to just be like, oh, it's a definite no, if everything else went good. So when I got the speed, I sent them an email and I'm like, hey, I said, my name is DeAndre Reese. I said, I just had an interview not too long ago. I said, during the time of their interview, I said I was having minor issues, with my internet. I said, and the problem is now resolved. I said, down below will be an attachment of, the problem being fixed, basically. Like, here's the results of my speed test. I instantly kind of got irritated after the response that I got because the lady didn't even say my name right. Like, when she emailed me, and I made sure I put, hi, my name is DeAndre Reese, so they knew, who I am and who they'll be responding to. The lady Rebecca said, okay, DeAndre, we'll get this updated. So that right there kind of told me, and it was like two different thoughts going in my head. Like, okay, the first one that went through my head was, okay, she don't even know how to read an email. Because I specifically put my name, the correct spelling of my first and my last name in there. And your response was something just off. So right in that moment, I was like, is this a company that you even want to work for? Because they want you to be this and they want you to be that. But they're not even this or that. But I was like, okay, DeAndre, that's probably negative. Like, let's not even think, baby, it was just a mistake. So she was like, I'll get this updated for you. And I was like, is there anything else that I need to do on my end? She was just like, no. She was like, at this moment, you're just waiting on the status. I said, okay, great. You have a great day. Never did she correct herself, right? So I left it alone. I went on about my day. I want to say maybe about, I would say probably about an hour, at least an hour after, I had sent her that. Because I was like, let me hurry up and get this in before they give me my results. I said, and I don't need this affecting that, So maybe like after I sent her that, maybe like an hour after that, they messaged me and they sent me an email basically saying they're just choosing not to move forward. Not a why or anything of the sort. So immediately I was like, I kind of laughed, like, because I was like, girl, you sure this your email? Like, did they write the right person? Like, they didn't mean to send this to me. Like, so it was like I know you lying type of thing. So I immediately laughed and I was like, okay, let me close this and open it up again because ain't no way. I did it and it said the same thing. So I said, okay, let me wait a little bit because maybe this was an error. Like they didn't mean to send this to me. Like I'm still waiting on my results because these can't be my results, right? Time go by, nothing. So I said, this is what it is. The reality setting, right? So in that moment, I really was, I think more than anything, confused because I'm like, okay, what could have went wrong outside of the speed test? Like literally, like yeah, I have went to interviews where I just knew off the rip it wasn't mine. I knew. And so therefore I wasn't even upset about it. I was just like, okay, that interview, I didn't do too good in the interview because like I done already told y'all, like most of the time my anxiety gets the best of me. You know, because I'm sitting up here thinking like, and it's not that I don't feel like I'm incapable, you know, of doing, if I feel like I can't do something, I'm not gonna apply. Like you know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna waste my time. But I feel like you have to really seal yourself in these interviews before they even say, okay, yeah, like you're what we're looking for. So I think that's what kind of caused me to become flustered and just, you know, unsure of myself in that moment. So I've had interviews like that. So this one was far beyond that. So I was just like, what? Like, no, like, cut, like, what's going on? Like, you lying. So in that moment, y'all, I was just like, okay, now mind y'all, I have went back and I watched that video that I made before those results. And I didn't do it immediately. I had my moment. I allowed myself to feel my emotions because I needed to. So I thought I was done releasing in that video I made. No, ma'am. I was just getting started. I was just getting started. When I tell y'all, like, I broke down. I hadn't cried like that I don't know how long. And and like I said, I just more so was like, feel like a big disappointment, like from my kids. And like, mind y'all, they didn't know. Like, they didn't know that I had an interview. My husband did. I eventually ended up telling him. So I was just like, this is just a letdown for my husband. Like, this is just a letdown, like, for my children, even though they didn't know. Like, you know, I just want more. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, financially to be good. Like, y'all know inflation is crazy right now. So I'm like, I just want to be able to help out financially. So it really just did something to me in that moment. And so my husband, I'm good now though, but like that day, bro, I was just like not understanding. Like I was just like, man, really, God? Like, you know, I was just confused, you know. And so when my husband came, like I really wasn't on the phone with him because I didn't want to cry about it. You know, I mean, I was crying, but I just needed to be alone. You know what I'm saying? To deal with these emotions on my own. So when he came home, for whatever reason, y'all, that's when the tears would not just stop falling. I was so irritated. I was like, you know, I really don't feel like doing this because I know he's going to try to come in and comfort me. And in that moment, y'all, like I felt like defeated. I felt lost. I felt like just not enough. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that no for me was just like, what is really going on? Like, what am I doing wrong? You know, I feel like, you know, maybe I'm not doing something right. I was just feeling all sorts of things, anything but good. And so when he came home, like he was just really trying to console me. And I was just like, dude, like, are you not understanding like what I'm saying? Like, I just had a moment of like defeat. Like, anytime I try something, and y'all, I think this really goes back to how you were raised. Like, what support you had coming up, you know, how you were told to like work through your rejections and your no's and to keep pushing or whatever. Like, I really think that plays a factor because, you know, if you wasn't really taught like when you were younger to keep going. You know what I'm saying? Like, everything is not going to go the way you plan it to go. But that does not mean to stop, or that does not mean that you're a failure. You know, fail your way to success. Like, if you have to get 3,000 no's before you get that one yes, like, keep going. Like, that wasn't really instilled in us, and me. So I think that's why I have a hard time with being consistent, and just um not being so easily defeated. Like, okay, that was one no, but that ain't stopping me. Look on to the next. Like, I don't really have that endurance in me like that. I'm learning, but I have not got there yet. I'll be lying if I said I got there. So sometimes when I hear that no, or I get that no, I feel like my whole world is like over with. Like, I feel like, okay, this is the end for me. Like, where are the brighter days? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's literally how I feel. And that's the only way that I can describe feeling defeated. That's all I could hear in that moment. Although my husband was really, really trying his strongest and his hardest to, like, man, we don't care about that. Like, you're more than that. You pull your weight around this house in other ways. Like, you really do. Like, and we appreciate you for that, and that is more than enough. Like, yeah, if you want to get you a job, that's fine. We'll support that, but we don't see you any differently, so he was really trying to, like, encourage me, y'all. But when I tell y'all, he was like, I don't even take, I'm more of a, I've never been like in the relax, like, know how to relax and just take my time and be in the moment, right? So I'm a shower girl. And so he was like, you need to bathe. Like, I mean, you want to just, soak in some water, whatever the case may be. And at first, my first mind was telling me, like, to say no. Like, no, like, that's not even you. You don't even do that. You know what I mean? But in that moment, I said, I need to decompress. I need to feel this moment so I can get out of this moment. I need to overcome this. I cannot let this consume me. So the spirit was still there, like, okay, it's okay for you to feel, but you have to get out of this. You're not going to stay here, y'all. Because I felt like, literally, and I was just saying things that I shouldn't have been saying, but I really felt that way in that moment. Like, I'm not good enough. I don't understand why I'm here. Like, just really questioning my being in this, my sense of being in this moment. And so I was like, you know what, just, so I said, you know what, let me give in right now. Let me give in. I'm going to take this bath. I'm going to sit in, and I'm just going to feel this. And that's exactly what I did. Y'all, when I tell y'all I was when I tell y'all I was in that tub, like, boo-hooing, like, I'm literally, oh, y'all, just picture this, okay? I got my knees, I'm like this, there's bubbles everywhere. I'm just like sobbing, okay? I'm just letting it out, okay? And I can say, like, not right in that moment did I feel better, but I did feel a sense of, like, release. Like, okay, I let it out. I'm not suppressing it. I am really good at suppressing my feelings, like, because I have this mind state, like, okay, okay, me crying is going to do it. Like, that's not going to fix the issue. I think I'll be looking for a quick fix, like, something quick. Like, I need something to be done right here in this moment. And with crying, I related to, okay, crying is not going to do that. Crying sometimes, like I said, is the only way to release what you're feeling. And if that's the only way to release, what's the wrong in that? So I cried all that I could cry in that moment, and I had to text, a couple of people, like, that I feel like I can trust, like, being, being vulnerable with. Someone who was going to encourage me, somebody who was not going to tell me what I wanted to hear, someone who, they believe in God. They know who God is. They actually have a relationship with God. So I needed some godly wisdom in that moment. I didn't just need, oh, you're great, you're good. I needed somebody to speak some godly wisdom into me. So I reached out to those people, and I thank God for those people, because they shifted my focus. Like, man, it wasn't for you. Like, and that's quite all right. Like, because if it was for you, whether if you was to have messed up in that interview, you still would have gotten it if it was for you. But it was not for you. And I had to remember, I had to go back to my video before I found out what the results were. I prayed and I asked God, like, God, if this is for me, let it be. If this is in your will, it's done. It's going to be done. I declare and decree that if this is your will for me, that it will be done, no matter what. And it wasn't, y'all. So I have to accept that. Like, I have to accept that. And that's the thing. Like, it's so easy for us to pray and not really understand what it is that we're praying. We have to know what it is that we're asking for and be able to accept, okay, if it's not in God's will, that it's not going to be done. And have to learn how to be okay with that, because it ain't going to change. It's not going to change. And to be honest with you, I do not want anything outside of God's will. I don't, because it won't prosper. It won't. I won't be at peace. You know what I'm saying? I'll still be feeling lost. And I want to do what God has called me to do. And in that moment, my mind was just kind of churning. I'm like, okay, if not this, then what? You know what I'm saying? Like, if this is not for me, God, then what is for me? And what I can say, what I got out of it is, I've been saying that I want to better my relationship with God, like just being more intentional, being more close to Him, not just going to Him when I'm coming into a time of need or something, but like just seeking Him every day, seeking Him daily, no matter what state I'm in, no matter whether it's sunny outside, if it's raining, if we without power. You know how crazy Houston weather has been. If we with power or without power, just literally like setting my focus on Him. And I'm going to be honest with y'all, because I know me, and God knows me better than I know me. If I would have gotten that job, more than likely, I think that would have, because where I am in life right now, I'm learning how to, being a mom, being a wife, still being me, doing what I have to do as all of those things, and still making sure that God is the leader of all those things and the head of all those things. I ain't gonna lie, I struggle with that, y'all. I do. And if I'm struggling with that as of now, and I'm without a job that I'm clocking into, or without a job that needs my undivided attention for a certain amount of time, how was that going to shape me in the place of being diligent when seeking Him? And my definition of seeking Him, for starters, for me, is like not just praying, but getting in the Word. You know what I'm saying? And staying in His presence when I'm not reading the Bible, or when I'm not listening to worship music, or when I'm not in church, or when I'm not sitting down having church with 2 or 3 people or more. I will be lying if I say I stay in His presence. I don't. So I got to look at the bigger picture. The bigger picture is, what have you been asking for, Deanna? You've been asking for God to, and this is another one of my prayers that I recently just started praying. Praying for God to close any door that does not need to be opened in my life. To block out the things that are not going to get me to where it is that you need me to be. And God needs me to be in right standing with Him. I need to be in right standing with God. And who's to say that that was going to get me there? Honestly, because I'm so in the mindset like, I want to be able to provide for my kids financially. Maybe that's where my focus has been all this time. And me not giving, the praise to my number one provider who's been providing for us this whole way through. God, I'm still working on this. With that being said, my first step was like, okay, I ain't applying for no job. My first intake on it was like, I'm not applying for any more jobs. I'm not, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to continue to handle the no's or the possible no's that'll be thrown my way. And not only that, I don't know if I get that yes, that I will still do what is required of me outside of that job pertaining to God and building my relationship with Him. Maybe that's the loss that I'm feeling. Maybe it's not me feeling like I don't have a job where I have for sure pay. With that being said, y'all, we have to remember that, like, life is not going to go our way, and we are needed. God has a duty for every one of us to fulfill. Your duty might not be my duty. My duty may not be your duty. But I do believe that they all combine in some way and relate in some way. What's for you will be for you. Whether that comes with the force or not, I think it depends on what we label as force. I don't think it would be. I don't necessarily think it'll be a force, but I do believe anything worth having and obtaining will not come easy. But I believe that it's something that is ordained by God and God driven. It will prevail. Definitely. Definitely. And I don't think anything, unless you willingly are saying, God, this is not what I want from me. Yeah, God, I know this is what you want me to do, but I'm not going to do it, because God does give us free will. But if it's something that you are in agreement with, and you submit and you surrender to that, and you say, okay, God, like, I hear you speaking, and you know it's coming from God, I don't see it not being so. I don't. So I've come to accept that job is not that job is not for me, and was not for me, and that there is something greater out here for me. Who knows? Maybe God really want me to sit down, get a better understanding of who He called me to be, and then He can reveal what it is He has for me. Because we got to be ready. If I'm asking for something that God knows I'm not ready for, what am I going to do with it? Fumble it. Fumble it. And He doesn't want that for me. So He wants me to do the smaller things first. Let me see if I can trust you with the smaller things. And maybe the smaller thing is understand that you are a mother and a wife. Appreciate that. Understand the magnitude of what that is. It's a big role. It's a big role, and it's not an easy role. And if He gave it to me, He gave it to me for a reason. Right? So I have to honor that. I have to honor that. Be grateful. Despite what I might feel I want. Despite what I feel like I may be without. And push it out. That's the update, y'all. I'm still here. I'm still present. It may have broke me for that short period of time, but it didn't kill me. And guess what? It has no choice but to make me stronger. To keep going. And I think that that's a part of the process, D. I'm a step closer than I was the day before, y'all. That's how we have to look at life. And I'm I'm learning to be okay with it. I have to be okay. Am I okay now with it? No, 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 no. What I'm about to say, no. But am I trying to get there? Yes. If God tells me that for the rest of my life, Dean, you'll never have another job. I don't care how many jobs you apply for. I don't care how much you study these jobs. I don't care how much skills you have pertaining to these jobs. I don't care who you know in these jobs. They won't be yours. But I want you to be a mother and a wife until I lead you to what else I have for you. I have to learn to be okay with it. I have to learn to accept it. And since I'm not there, I have to get there. I have to keep working on getting there, y'all. I do. Because I trust and believe in God. And I believe that Jesus, his son, is with me. I feel like I believe that he'll never leave nor forsake me. And I have to keep pressing forward. I have to know that my timing is not his timing. I have to remember that his grace are far greater than my ways. That's why they say lean not onto your own understanding. And that's what I've been doing. And that's why it feels so defeating when things don't go the way we feel like they should have went or how they should go, or we don't get the results that we expected to get. It is what it is. And though I may not, like I said, I don't know what that is, what he has for me, I'm grateful that he's with me. I'm grateful that he's not going to leave me where I am. I'm grateful that I won't always be confused. I'm grateful that he's not going to leave me here. And that's enough to like I said, I want to get better with, and I'm getting better with, praising him in any moment. Yeah, I didn't get that job, but I'm thankful that my husband still has his. Yeah, I didn't get that job, but I'm thankful for my life. I'm thankful for my health. I'm thankful for my strength to keep fighting, to keep going. Because that tried to break me, but it didn't. It didn't. Because I'm still here. I still believe in God. I still believe that he has something for me. Yeah, I didn't get that job, but I'm thankful for my kids. I still have my kids. They still have their health. They still have their strength. Yeah, I didn't get that job, but as of right now, my rent is paid for this month. Light bill is paid for this month. So that's what my focus needs to be on, and that's what keeps me in right standing with God. Remembering what he has already done. Remembering, most importantly, who he is and who only he can be. So I'm encouraged today. I'm encouraged today. I trust in God. I truly believe that there is something on the other side and something far more greater. And if God is telling me, I'm telling you no, because I need you and you need me. And I need you to surrender to the things that you think is what's missing in your life. Come follow me. Let me show you. Let me set your focus on what it needs to be on, and take it off what you think it needs to be on. And hey, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I want to have the mind of Christ. Because when you have the mind of Christ, I mean, it's almost to the point to where nothing bothers you. Do you feel? Yeah, I do believe you feel. Because I do believe we're still human. But feel in a sense to where you don't feel like you can move on in life. You questioning your being. You're questioning whether you should still be here or not. No. Because when you have the mind of Christ, you have peace that surpasses all understanding. And I haven't got there yet, y'all. But I will be. I will be there. And maybe it took this for me to just open my eyes and see, like, let me show you how you are. Let me show you what you do. Because God knows us. He meets us right where we at. He talked to us the way we need to be talked to. Okay, you asking me for this. You saying you want that. But are you saying that because that's something that you want or you think you want? Is that going to get you closer to me? Is that going to set your focus, what you basically asking for? You asking me to eliminate all distractions? To eliminate anything that's hindering me from seeking you and your kingdom? How come I do that? But let me see how she gonna respond. Woo! And child, when I tell you I could have just fell to the floor when I felt that, I literally forgot everything that I had prayed about. I just said, oh no, and you want to know why? It's because I was leaning to my own understanding, sitting up here making plans that I had no business making. God said worry about today, not tomorrow. I was worried about the days way ahead of that. Oh, I could start helping Michael out with this. I could start helping him out with that. Oh, I probably could take the trip with the kids. And y'all, when I tell y'all, I'm just on the phone talking to my husband, like really talking like I just knew that was mine, for real. I said, maybe we can probably go here. We'll be able to say this. We'll be able to say that. And then it'll be easier when it comes time for us to do it. Y'all, I was just, woo. This was me. Gone. Baby. Probably about 5 minutes after the interview. So, I'm going to keep going, y'all. I'm going to keep living. I'm going to keep, it thought it stopped me. It almost had me. But it don't have me, honey. God got me. So, that was just my update, y'all. Y'all keep watching the videos. I thank y'all. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And y'all have a good day.
My favorite part of learning is just loving where